YouTube is a bit of a grind and a bit of a balance. On the one hand, consistency is key, and it's important to deliver a product to the viewer that he or she expects. But the trade-off there is predictability. You don't want a boring, predictable product. So when I sit down to make a video, I try to avoid total predictability. But ultimately, niches develop. You go to the History Channel for conspiracy theories stated as fact.
This is a direct result of extraterrestrials tampering with our DNA. So we're half human and half extraterrestrial. We're hybrids.
You go to Anita Sarkeesian for honest analysis of today's most pressing issues.
Let's contrast the way that women's butts are emphasized with the sometimes absurd lengths taken to cover up or hide men's butts.
You go to Sarah Palin for a new English dialect developed on the fly.
How about the rest of us? Right-wing and bitter clinging proud clingers of our guns, our God, and our religions and our Constitution.
Bitter clinging proud clingers for Trump 2016. And you come to me increasingly for discussion of the latest butthurt demand for suppression of harmless speech. I'd love to diversify my material, I really would, but the stories on this topic keep upping the ante of absurdity. This latest example out of Wisconsin illustrates perfectly that yesterday's slippery slope crazy talk is today's reality, and shows just how pathetic we become when we accept the premise that words are weapons. So let's review the facts. In Wisconsin, high school sports are governed by the State Interscholastic Athletic Association, and in December, the WIAA decided it's time to crack down on all those ruthless chants coming from the crowds at basketball games. In a recent email, the WIAA director writes to member high schools, "We want to address concerns with a noticeable increase in the amount of chants by student sections directed at opponents and/or opponent supporters that are clearly intended to taunt or disrespect. Student groups, school administrators, and event managers should take immediate steps to correct this unsporting behavior." Well, damn. I suppose there must have been something threatening said at a recent game. A call to violence, maybe. Enticing a fight. Maybe use of slurs or some other type of offensive speech. The director clarifies. Some specific examples of unsporting behavior by student groups include chants directed at opposing participants and/or fans. Among the chants that have been heard at recent high school sporting events are, "You can't do that," "Fundamentals," "Airball," "There's a net there," "Civ," "We can't hear you," the scoreboard cheer, and "Season's over" during tournament series play. And your assistance, Wisconsin high schools, in stopping this type of toxic, harmful behavior is much appreciated. This is next level. Normally, I criticize efforts to suppress speech because of what that suppression means for human intellectual progress. We need ideas and art to be exchanged freely because through competition, the best ideas and the best art rises to the top. But this story shows why suppressing harmless words is the wrong approach for a much simpler reason. It's simply anti-fun. Any sports event is so much more entertaining, so much more engaging, so much more fun with a rowdy crowd. And it's so much more fun for everyone involved, including the road team. Even if we grant the WIAA's position that there's a victim of crowd chanting or taunting with objectively innocent words, how satisfying is it for a road team to shut the home crowd up? Fundamentals? Hit that crossover to behind the back pass and they get a lot quieter. Airball? Drain the three and hear their silence. Season's over? Hit that shot at the buzzer and watch them go home mad. I understand we are speaking in the context of kids here, and maybe in the context of kids, we should be more careful with the level of public ridicule to which we subject them. I understand that thinking in a more extreme circumstance. We don't want kids out on the floor hearing threats of violence or slurs, to be clear. But airball? Scoreboard? These are the types of innocent taunts and criticisms to which the great big world out there subjects us every day. When I remember the best teachers I had in my life, I think of the ones who instilled the value of a curious mind in me. But beyond that, I remember the ones who prepared me with the skills and attitude necessary to succeed on my own. I remember those who understood the value of challenge. I remember less the ones who told me I was right and more the ones who told me I was wrong. In other words, the best educators of my life didn't try to shield me from the world. They tried to prepare me for it. They understood that when the clock is winding down and the crowd is hassling you, you post up, take your shot, and watch it swish at the buzzer, not curl up in the fetal position and wonder why you even try. I would say that concept is fundamental, but as the email says, the WIAA has banned that. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate the thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is @skag_3. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live stream. That's linked in the description. Looking forward to it. Okay, bye.